What is for dinner tonight?
Oh, tonight we were talking about grilling chicken thighs.
Okay.
I'm done with chicken breast, man. When I was a kid, all I wanted was white meat. It's just dark meat only in this house.
And just like that, we are back again with another episode of the Mind the Growth podcast. As always, I'm Chris Kinghorn.
And I'm Eric Hoffman.
Eric, today we have a very, very special guest. We've got Thanasi. I'm not even going to try to go for the last name. I was talking with Eric earlier. We're giving the breakdown, and my Greek teacher would be really frustrated with me if I even tried and kind of butchered it. So can you help us out a little bit on the last name?
Yeah, you got it. It's Panagiotakopoulos.
Panagiotakopoulos.
There you go.
All right. We're off to
it looks more intimidating, I think, than it is. It's like the GIO is like a YO, and then everything else is how you read it.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of who you are, maybe a little bit of the industry that you're in, so the listeners can kind of familiarize themselves?
Sure, yeah. Born and raised here in Phoenix. I'm 36 years old. I'm married for 9 years. I have two kids, Sophia and Marco. They're 7 and 5. We're just back at school here. Grew up playing sports, played basketball in college, and then played a little bit professionally overseas in Greece. And then I'm in financial planning, investment advisory right now, and have my own business, Life Managed.
And is that business a family business, or remind me, because we were introduced to you through our friend Alexis, and she works with you. And I thought she said you may have worked with a brother or something. Am I way off?
Yeah. Well, he's also in, finance and investments. He's got his own business. And my parents had a different business, so.
Got it. Cool. So the financial planning business, give us an idea of what that looks like day to day. Working with what types of clients all over the board, or what do you focus on?
Yeah. I mean, we're working with kind of two demographics, mainly. One is this young professional that's, growing their income or has a good income and is finally, I guess, want to use the word adulting. They're getting married, or they're having kids, or they're already there and they're making six figures, and maybe they're done, having too much fun, and know that it's time to get serious and get their financial affairs organized and lay a better foundation for the long term. Those can be, attorneys or physicians, or it could be employees of companies that are paid in equity, stock option based employees, commercial real estate agents, people that have a lot of control over their income, or have a strong income. And then on the other side, kind of either a business owner or maybe a pre-retiree who is on the tail end, has done a good job accumulating, and now just not really quite sure. They were told to max out their 401k and to stay the course, and now they're trying to figure out, do they have enough to live on the pot that they've built, or when is it enough? How much longer do they have to work? What are going to be the tax consequences of when they start living on their incomes, on their portfolios? And that's kind of the other demographic that we serve.
Nice.
Awesome. Eric's got his second one on the way, so you're going to have to help him lean off of his Ethereum and crypto addiction and dive a little bit more into the markets.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, depending on when you started the addiction, no matter what the price is today, you're still okay.
Yeah.
I think he's doing all right.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah.
It's been a few years.
So how'd you get started in the space originally?
Yeah. So I studied finance and accounting in college. So I always knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know whether it would be kind of on the institutional side, working with pension funds and large endowment funds, things like that, on the back end kind of, or more client facing, as they call retail, with the actual individual focused on their lives and their planning. And back in 2010, I got started at Wells Fargo Advisors, like in our private wealth management group, with the kind of that financial advisor client facing role, and felt more fitting, kind of more of a sales-based, personal relationship-based business, rather than more kind of sitting on a computer all day.
At Wells Fargo, which location were you at the time?
I was in the Esplanade on 24th Street in Camelback. It
Gotcha.
actually used
Gotcha.
to be like just post financial crisis. It was an old Wachovia office that became, they with Wells Fargo, and I did 5 years there.
Yeah, I had a few friends that were there around the same time. A guy named Jamie Gressick. Are you familiar with him?
At Wells Fargo.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's big. So
Yeah, you know
no
what's
worries.
crazy? Yeah, is it's like there's so many different channels too. You could work on
Yeah,
like the private bank or private wealth, or you could
totally.
be, yeah, it's always confusing to everyone, but Wells Fargo is one of the biggest Arizona employers. So,
Totally. And so what was the catalyst that made you say, "Hey, I've reached my peak here and I want to do my own thing?"
it was kind of a structural thing for me that I just really felt like we were doing things for the bank, and it was all based on, we were a publicly traded bank, right?
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, no matter how hard you try, the only thing that matters is earnings per share for the shareholders.
Hmm.
And it's tough to be able to always make the best and right decision for the client when, they're dangling a bonus over you that's like, hey, if you do this and this and you hit this metric, you get this payment. Or, it was too convoluted. It was written with conflicts, kind of not really a lot of creativity because every person has their own situation and they just shouldn't fit in one box, that was offered by the bank. So, after I realized that pretty quickly, but had like a 5 year contract, so it was kind of like, I'll try to play as clean as I can and build relationships and know that there's a different future for me after my 5 years here.
Gotcha. And so with Life Managed, I have a twofold question. First, do you have like any particular minimum that you require for clients coming in, like a minimum net worth or something like that?
Yeah, good question. We don't, so we, some firms like have a traditional minimum account size, right? Where
Mm,
they won't even want to talk to you if you don't have $500,000 or $2 million because they get their asset management fee. And if they're charging them a percentage, 1%, 500,000, it's like 5,000 is like the minimum. We've tried to eliminate that because we just think there's such an underserved market of people that are craving financial advice and really want a trusted partner and a long-term relationship where they might just need basic guidance and someone to hold them accountable and be objective. And so what we've done is we really look at the person or end client and just make sure that it's a good fit based on their ability to actually implement advice we'd give them. And normally that comes back to a kind of a basic income because after doing hundreds of budgets and meeting so many families, it's tough. If you can't make more than 9,000, it seems to me like 9,000 of after-tax dollars, that's the cutoff that we would be able to at least help someone effectuate change without telling them to, live on rice beans and make your own coffee, basically.
gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So that makes complete sense as well too. Question though, so for let's take that individual. So let's say they're working up their way to wanting to be able to work with someone like you, or be able to not necessarily work with someone like you, but they want to get to that stage where they're investing properly. But maybe they want to start. They're starting slow and they're starting from quote unquote the bottom. How do you recommend somebody in that type of situation? What do you recommend for them to get starting? Is it more so budgeting and saving? Is it putting a little bit here and there away, trying to get to the match of their employer's 401k? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. So you're saying, just to confirm I understood you right, is the people like before they get to us.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that everyone tries to, there's so much like TikTok and Instagram and influencers and this idea of passive income and everyone can side hustle and buy an apartment building and be financially free by 30. I think to me, it's focusing on like education and career and just knowing you'll get there and just growing your income. You just have to grow to the income level to then have the ability. And of course, along the way, I'm not saying if you're 23, don't save a dollar. No matter what, you have to at least take advantage of the employer match, right? Like that's the free money where if you make 50,000 or 80,000 and the employer is going to give you 4% to match you, that's 100% return on your money. You just have to put that in as an expense on the budget and find a way to make it work. And that's kind of the way
Absolutely.
we look at it.
And so with the clients that you take on, how are you getting them to come through your doors today? Are you marketing in a certain way? Is it all word of mouth? How have you grown so far?
Yeah, we've looked and seen where our clients have come from, and we've done, some events, really hyper local stuff. We support a couple of young men's groups in the Valley that focus on children's charity. A lot of word of mouth. We'll get the fact that this is a relationship business, so obviously it's helped a lot being born and raised here. So there's a good baseline of people that I know that I could call, have a coffee, a lunch, a happy hour, whatever, and say, hey, this is what we're up to if you need any help, or if you know anyone that does. Then from there, it's really been a lot of more referral, because most of the people that we're serving, they are friends with the people in the same circles, where they might be kind of similar phase of life. They're having kids, they bought their house, they've renovated their kitchen, and now what? And so that's kind of been our biggest growth factors from referrals.
And with your planning methodology, do you take more of like a holistic approach where you look at all aspects of their life, including whether they need life insurance or investing in IRAs or whatever it may be? Or do you just focus on market investing? How do you view that?
Yeah, no, we definitely are really comprehensive. So while we don't sell life insurance, I think that's kind of another differentiator and attractor is, we all had those friends that went to work at Northwestern Mutual, and somehow you landed you landed with a whole life policy that you didn't understand. Yeah. And so we really, while life insurance and disability insurance and all of that's really important, and we recognize that it's part of our planning process, we refer that to a partner of ours that has done a lot of good work for us, and we don't take any commissions, and so that kind of separates that, but we include it in our planning. Same thing with even like property and casualty insurance. We'll ask people,
Sure.
Hey, when's the last time you actually had gotten this bid? If it's been 2, 3, 4 years, let's talk to your insurance guy, or hey, I have one that I know is able to go and is in a captive broker, right? So we'll look at budgeting, savings goals, life insurance, P&C insurance. We'll bring in the estate planning attorney when it makes sense, or give them guidance on how to avoid the cost of the estate attorney while still having some level of baseline organization for their affairs. And then student loan planning, we have, we've learned a lot, and I don't know if I'm willing to say I'm an expert yet, but we have the experts with us that we've done so much of the public student loan forgiveness program or the income-based repayments, and should you refinance, should you do the programs, and how that impacts long-term wealth accumulation. So I think, managing debt and helping people understand that part of the balance sheet is really important for this phase of life, like student loans, credit cards, mortgages, versus lines of credit and all that, and how that ties in just into their full financial plan.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So quick question. This is pivoting a little bit, and I know nobody has a crystal ball, but very curious of what your thoughts are on the current state of the market and where you see it going.
Oh man.
Loaded question to some extent.
Yeah. The long-term, the general advice is we don't have the crystal ball. We don't know what the market's going to do. And so we've instructed our clients from very, detailed cash flow planning. We never invest monies that we don't have or need. And we know the time horizon. And so we're not worried about those movements, but it's always fun to, BS and figure out what the heck is it going to do, right? I mean, my gut feel is that this isn't over yet. I think we still have a lot of structural issues, and it's a lot easier to be worried and nervous and bearish on the market than it is to be bullish right now. But being bearish doesn't work over the long run, because you look at the odds and the probabilities of success over time. If you invest for 10 years, your probability of losing money is like less than 1%. As long as you're in a diversified portfolio, and you're not all in one stock that blows up, right? But I think that inflation is definitely, like, everyone was cheering the inflation report. It was lower than what it was expected, but it doesn't mean inflation went away.
0.6%. Yeah, it was fractional amount.
Yeah, I saw a great Twitter thread. Someone, and listen, it was like, hey, if you're 350 pounds and you lost 20 pounds, but you still got a long ways to go if you're trying to get back to the right, place to move the needle. And so I think when you look at incomes and inflation and the fact that we still got to keep raising rates and the geopolitical climate, I would be surprised if we stay at new highs. We might test them, but I think that, I don't know. That's my gut instinct. But I'm not allowing that to drive my actual personal investments.
Sure.
I am fully invested, and every month I put more money into the stock market, regardless of what my crystal ball is.
Fundamentals, baby. I like it.
That's right. It's boring, but that's what works, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. Sometimes it's a painful lesson trying to do the opposite, but some people, not saying me or Chris, need to learn the hard way, testing those failures.
Hey, I'm still everyday VOO and VTI. That's kind of my. No, I'm kidding. It's more diversified than that, I promise.
No, I mean, it's honestly, like, it should be fine, and that's where it's funny. Sometimes we really like keeping things simple, and the reality is if everyone just did that and remained unemotional, they really don't need someone like me.
Yeah,
it's the fact that if you did too much VOO and VTI and you lost your job and you didn't have the reserve fund because you were too aggressive and you got into debt, but if you're doing the right numbers and you never ever sell, you're going to be just fine in 30 years.
One of our clips that's done the best, this had to have been 4 or 5 months ago, was me commenting about just dollar cost averaging into VOO and VTI every single day. And you don't want to do it to where you've got millions of dollars in it. But if you can get, tens of thousands, if not a few $100,000 in that, if you kind of just let that sit there for 10, 15, 20 years, you can focus on a lot of other diversification as well. And I'm no financial advice here. This is just me commenting on a podcast. But it was funny to see that was one of the clips that did fairly well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what Warren Buffett, I don't remember how long ago, made that bet, right, with the hedge fund guy saying, like, I would just buy the Vanguard 500 and I bet you that I'll outperform you with that. And I'm pretty sure he's winning that bet by a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
He's winning a lot of bets. Let's just.
It's not honest. Sexy though. Sex sells.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go buy some Coca-Cola.
Yeah, for real. Dairy Queen. What else? Yeah, all that good stuff. So going back to, you've mentioned something that reminded me of a Twitter meme that I saw as well, and it just goes to show the emotions are just there. We're humans and we can't avoid emotion, so we do need people like you. But I saw this Twitter meme that was basically showing the inflation rate. I think it was in March where it hit 8.5%, and then now, and everyone was freaking out at the time, and now it's back down to 8.5%, and everyone's relieved. They're taking vacations. It's that type of mindset that nobody knows what the heck they're doing, and it's best to just stay the course.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I mean, frankly, I think, that's what we get paid to do, right? Is there are some people that they're capable of doing that on their own, and those are probably, and I feel like everyone has a really strong discipline in some aspect of their life. And then there's other things that they're not, right? Like for me, I'm really disciplined with my money. I'm not very disciplined with like nutrition. I have someone that's like a coach that helps me with that and like keeps me accountable, right? Like some people might be really good at the nutrition and really bad at the money. Somewhere in our life, there's always something where you just need a little bit of that behavioral assistance, right?
Yeah, that extra little help. It goes a long way. So with your current business, can you give us an idea of some goals that you have in place? Speaking of, sitting down and being diligent with your life, what do you have in your view of what you want the business to look like in a few years? Let's call it 3.
Yeah, really just from a total, the ability to help as many people as we can, and based on, the bandwidth we have with our current staff and the people that I know I could hire if we need. I think the kind of the stretch goal is 100 new people a year to, go through the whole comprehensive process and have the long-term relationship with them. I think if we did that, we would knock it out of the park and really continue to educate people so that when they're in their 50s and 60s, they're in really, really good shape.
Nice.
Absolutely. And so quick question. So if we take that 100 number, is that based off of a general kind of a general basis of what they would be, investing with you, or would you ever take the approach of looking at it more so for assets or dollar amount under management? Is it kind of number of heads? Is it total dollar amount? Is it looked at as a combination of that? Have you kind of associated an average of what each person brings? Just curious how you got to the 100 number.
I think it's just more of relationships, not actual, Gotcha. Just a round number. It's like almost 8 a month.
Yeah.
It ties to the time it takes from us to, acquire or bring in a new client, onboard them, get them to do their homework or kind of pre-meeting work, then be able to interview them and do our discovery process, then, kind of do the next meeting and get through our whole program where it's like a manageable number. And for us, whether it's assets under management or the relationship, it's all just growth, and it provides, it's each person that we serve really, really well, we create a new client advocate that brings the next one. So For us, it's more about getting the right people in the door. We've learned a lot about who we really can't serve, so that way we can minimize, bad experiences where they just shouldn't have hired us to begin with, and so I think we've really, really figured that out. And so it just feels like a good number, 96, I guess, 8 a month would be the true goal, rounded up to 100.
No, that's the network and the compounding effect too. So it sounds like you guys get a lot of referrals, which is awesome.
Yeah. And what we found actually is, my business would be significantly more profitable and frankly easier, with that AUM model and, getting someone to come in with $5 million, charging them 1%, like if they went to Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch, and I would get $50,000 a year. Instead, with kind of our lower baseline pricing of $1,800 a year, we charge $150 a month. We got to get, 25, 26 clients. And so think about how much more work that is to get the same revenue. But what we found is that's more rewarding to us. It's a lot more meaningful to this person to help build something rather than help someone protect it and manage it. And then what ends up happening is we end up getting that $5 million account because it's one of these people's parents or grandparents that they're talking to them about their great young financial planner. And we have that going for us, is that a lot of, the average age, I think, is like almost 63 years old now of the average financial advisor. I'm 36. Our certified financial planner, Ben, is 37, and we got Anthony will be a CFP in November, and he's only 27. So we got youth on our side.
Yeah, absolutely.
So were those your words or the client's words? The young, what was it? Young, handsome, intelligent. Was that the adjectives that you were bringing up?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. All right. So speaking of client referrals, asking for a friend, but what would you say would be a fair affiliate fee if you were, let's say, on some random podcast, a bunch of people came over and, you made millions of dollars, et cetera, et cetera. What would you pay a couple of lads to do that for you?
That's actually really interesting. Maybe we should have another video chat or a meeting.
All right, deal.
Yeah, we do. We have affiliates that we have some where, there are programs where, one of them, Zoe Financial. I don't know if you've ever seen their ads or come across their stuff.
Yeah.
Their job is to vet the financial planner because it's so hard for people to know what questions should they ask? Like, how do they know they can trust this person? They need help, but it's an intimidating decision, and so they they try to weed out all of the potential conflict, right? So then someone knows, like, all right, do I like this person? They've already filtered, and so we pay them or we have a revenue share agreement. So if you guys have something like that, we're all ears.
Deal. We'll work something up. But putting the work aside, so we're recording this on a Friday for those that don't know. And in my view, we're wrapping up work for the week. So in your life, married, 2 kids, what do you do once you wrapped up for work on a Friday? What does a weekend look like for you? What do you do outside of work?
Cook and drink. Lots of red wine, lots of red meat. I love cooking. I grew up in we're a big, loud Greek family, and pretty much everything we do revolves around the dinner table. And so that's what we're doing. Tonight, we'll have a sleepover. The cousins, we're lucky all my family lives right around us. So literally my big fat Greek wedding, I'm just missing the Greek flag on my garage because my mom and dad live next door to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're willing to share, because I have an interesting anecdote for you. But what is for dinner tonight?
Oh, tonight we were talking about grilling chicken thighs.
Okay.
I'm done with chicken breast, man. When I was a kid, all I wanted was white meat. It was just dark meat only in this house.
So I have a theory. My parents were the exact same way. Every time we'd go out, they'd ask for white meat chicken. I don't know who ingrained that into their brain, but ever since I was like 16 years old, the thighs are where it's at. For those of you that are listening that don't know this, do not eat breast meat chicken. Eat chicken thighs. They're so much better. It's almost impossible to overcook them.
Totally.
And they're constantly delicious and juicy. But that's interesting. And we, as you may or may not know, we're both very into wine as well. So do you have a bottle on tap for tonight that you're thinking of?
Like everybody in the world, we went through a big Mayomi phase. It was just such an easy Pinot. I really like it's like a brother of Camus. It's a cab, and I'm going to think of it right now.
Yeah.
And then I like the cab. Like I like the Pine Ridge cab. It's like I don't know. It's like a $50 bottle. It's pretty good for what it is. But we're not going through crazy wines. Pinot and cab, and keeping it easy over here. What about you guys?
Well, so for dinner tonight, part of the reason why I asked is I'm cooking lamb meatballs with some homemade pitas. I have a pizza oven, one of the Uni pizza ovens. I'm not sure if you've seen those.
I'm on a list for one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do some pizzas. I do some pitas. Turns out incredible. So we're doing that with some sides. Not doing the wine because my wife's pregnant, and so we're not drinking right now. And I'm taking a vow of solitude with her. But
wow, nice. Well, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
First one?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a daughter who's a year and a half, and this will be our second. It'll be a boy, and we're excited to have one of each.
All right. Nice. Yeah. I guess I lied about the drinking too. My wife will be drinking. I'll be pouring. I'm on heavy ibuprofen. I'm recovering from a ACL surgery, actually.
Wow.
Playing pickup basketball at a church.
So a wise person once told me, once you turn 30, you should stop playing basketball and sports like that, because you will be injured at some point. And I'm proof of that. Every time I seem to play, I'll twist an ankle or hurt a shoulder or something.
Yeah.
But
I was in
it's hard to stay away from.
Full arm cast last year with a broken pinky from indoor soccer. I opted to play goalie so that I wouldn't tear an Achilles or an ACL, and I was the cocky basketball player, catching it and outletting it, and just one got me, and there it is, full arm cast for a pinky. So I'm officially retired.
Smart. Probably a good idea.
Well, Eric, I'm going to have to tell Rana that you were supposed to come over this weekend for a few glasses of wine.
Okay.
So, Rana, if you see this episode, maybe this will show up on
there
the
are
Instagram
exceptions
clip,
that can be made, Chris. Let's not get carried away here.
Aren't you going to Napa pretty soon?
Yeah, I am. So my younger brother's turning 30. We're going to Napa for a pretty extensive weekend of wine tasting. So that'll be my exception.
Nice. That sounds
Yeah.
fun.
So one of the things that stuck out, aside from the financial component on your bio, was your history within Phoenix. So I'm fifth generation Phoenician on my mom's side, and I feel like I've heard the name of your family's restaurant before. Can you give us a little look into what that is?
Yeah, Christo's Restaurant and Alexi's Grill. My dad was in the restaurant business. He opened Christo's when I was born, actually, so 36 years ago. It's like 7th Street in Maryland, so between Glendale and Bethany there in north central Phoenix area.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alexi's, he opened it 2001 maybe, somewhere around then, downtown on Central and Osborne. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a staple for a long time down here. There weren't very many restaurants until about 10 or 15 years ago. And he sold those maybe 4 years ago now. So one of his partner that was operating Alexi's kind of bought the whole thing now. So Michael is carrying the legacy on, and still the same people cooking and same recipes. So it lives on. Yeah, would love to treat you over there so I can order the right things for you.
Perfect. Might have to take you up on that one.
So with your dad selling, is that his retirement, or is he itching to do something else now?
No, he wants to do nothing. He, from being in the kitchen and around the fire for that long, and working nighttime. Yeah, so he's 64, just a couple days ago, and he likes to think he's has done the miles of like an 85-year-old. So
that's being conservative.
Yeah,
I've worked in restaurants myself. It is not for the faint of heart.
It's just a lot. Yeah, a lot of stress. It was hard for him to get away. Always something to worry about. So he's feeling good now, chilling.
Nice.
Yeah.
So kind of going back for a second into the investing world, and for you listeners, this isn't investing advice, but do you focus exclusively on what you recommend to your clients, or do you invest in anything outside of traditional markets like real estate, crypto we talked about earlier, anything outside of the norm, I guess you would say?
Yeah, sure. So I invest the same way as what we recommend our clients, long-term asset allocation, index funds, and I also have my little dabble account. The one thing that we do is we actually tell all our clients it's fun. I like it. I like the fast pace and, seeing if you're right. And it's kind of like, instead of gambling, some individual stock trading, and most of our clients, you tell them set up a little account where you can do that, mess around and scratch the itch. But yeah, I do other things as well. I've got friends that do, multifamily syndication. So I'll be an LP investor in some of those. I dabbled in some, one of my clients was doing like a cannabis fund, so I'll do alternatives well, but, and we actually, clients bring us alternatives opportunities that they have. And I think part of the good thing about our fee model is when they bring us something and we're not like on an AUM, we're not conflicted in giving them the advice. If they've got a couple $100,000 deposited with us, and the way we're earning our fee is by charging the asset management fee, and they're like, hey, this real estate deal popped up, I need $150K, you put 10 people in a room, I think 9 of them would be conflicted in their advice on whether they should do the deal because they're firing themselves, right?
Right.
So we help clients, review the terms of their deal, or help them understand the risks, or the what is the split between the general partner and the limited partner, and what has to go well and what has to go wrong to hit what the projected returns are. So I think, I like doing alternatives as well, as long as it makes sense.
I love the transparency it seems like you have with your clients too, and kind of it seems like the relationships as well. You don't find that as frequently with financial planners. So at least I feel like you don't. And that might just be a stigma, but it's really refreshing to see that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I think it is a stigma, but I think it's also true a lot of the time. It's just because of how we're paid, right? I mean, it's
right.
And it's probably, people focus a lot more on us because this is serious, it's people's monies. But that is probably in every single industry, right? I mean, I had an air conditioning repair guy. I have a rental property, and I was out of town. It was 115 degrees, and it's like, how do I have to trust this person?
Yep.
But,
Right.
I know some of these service people work on commission. Some are paid hourly. Some are paid on the job. I didn't interview my AC repair guy to see if that capacitor that he charged me $480 that, you could find on Amazon for $18, did it really need to be charged? Did it need to be changed? Right. I don't know, but I know my tenant is sweating and I just had to do it. And so it's like you look at healthcare services, it's really every industry, but it seems like we're just a little bit more scrutinized because it's your money, right?
No, that completely makes sense. Well, this has been awesome, man. We really appreciate it. The one question that we ask everybody at the end of the podcast. So the name of the podcast is Mind the Growth, and I don't want to give you too much backstory or context, but we talk with startup founders, with entrepreneurs, with financial planners. Talk about crypto. We talk about wine. We talk about watches, and really just people's stories, and really enjoy great conversations with great people. And the one question we have for you at the end of this podcast is, what does the word growth mean to you?
Yeah, it's just advancement, I think, like progress, quality of life. Hopefully if we're all growing, we're growing intellectually, we're becoming more open-minded, we're learning from our mistakes of the past, we're innovating, and globally, everyone's quality of life gets better, because otherwise, what else is the point of all the shit we're doing?
Right. I like it.
Yeah.
Well said.
Maybe that's too utopian. I don't know.
No, that's perfect. That's a good one.
What about you guys? I mean, what's the consensus? I haven't really ever thought about it in that perspective.
So far, I think most guests have similar answers to you. And I think we would typically agree with that type of mindset, that the reason, and Chris said we wouldn't get into details about it, but just for you, Thanasi,
okay.
we'll get into some detail. Part of why we started the podcast is for answering that question for us, because we are both at stages in our lives where we are, trying new things. We've both had some success at, young ages, and we're looking forward to a new chapter in our lives, professionally and personally. Me, but more than Chris, maybe from the personal perspective, just because I'm, married, having kids, etc. Chris is on the way. But
I still got to buy the ring. So we're
but nonetheless,
you got a guy for you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm sure everyone has one.
I got a guy. He's got a guy.
Hannah, earmuffs.
But yeah, we view the question as, growing both personally and professionally. And like you said, learning from your mistakes and just trying new things, doing your best with what you have. I think the perfectionist mindset is a fallacy that a lot of people have. There's no such thing as perfect, but as long as you're giving your best effort with whatever you're doing, that's all you can do. And, trying your best not to compare to other people, because that is a difficult trap to fall into.
Yeah. Well, you gotta go get with the Jesuits a little. My Brophy education. You gotta be open to growth. That's one of our principles.
Yeah.
So are you part of the FIRE movement, or?
Great question. Yeah, I'm not. I'm familiar, and I like the tenets of it, but it's not something that I'm like heavily focused on. I'm not in a Reddit group talking about it every day.
Yeah.
But I think that's the goal for everyone. Everyone wants to have enough of a base to be able to live off of and do whatever you want with your life.
Like doing.
Yeah. So I think that would be great, but I'm still enjoying working up to that, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I don't remember. Somebody said it and I thought it was great. And so I'm sorry for who I'm not giving this credit to, but I'm stealing it. It's instead of financial independence, retire early. I think the financial independence, recreational employment. I think that's a better. Do what you want.
That's a better way to look at it.
Odds are 95% of your friends have to do something every day. So what do you?
Totally.
If you're not working, what are you going to do all day at 35 to 40, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny you say that because I've talked to friends all the time about. I think it is also a generational thing. The thought of retirement. I mean, for some people that's great, but I'm the curious type, and I don't think I'll ever like retire and not do anything. There's always something I'll be up to, something I'm trying to figure out, some business I'm trying to spin up. So
Yeah. Well,
I foresee that for the rest of my life, but you know,
well, we're going to build an affiliate marketing company for you soon.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Perfect.
On our way.
One thing I do want to highlight about the growth question, I think when you ask somebody that question, it really gives you a lot of insight of not only who they are, but a lot of where their mindset is currently focused on. So we've asked it to Eric, how many episodes have we put out? This will be 28, 29.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've asked it to a decent amount of people, and depending on who is responding, answers fluctuate. It's traditionally a combination of, there's personal and professional growth. But we have had a decent amount of individuals who go straight to growth is sales, growth is revenue, growth is financial success, or it's building this or completing this milestone. So it's
a lot of the startup founders that have those responses.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's always good to hear people's thoughts and kind of, I think it gives us a little insight to kind of who they are and where they're at mentally. So I like it.
Cool.
Great answer too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been
thanks
fun.
again, Thanasi.
Really great meeting you guys. Maybe we could spend some more time together offline.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Until next time, thanks for watching. Click subscribe, like,
comment, subscribe.
Comment, even if it's negative, that actually helps.
Check out Thanasi's website, LifeManage. Is it lifemanage.com?
It is, yeah. Thank you.
Perfect.
Cool.
Phoenix, Arizona. So for all of our Phoenix network, which is probably the vast majority of it, check them out.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. See you guys.